Welcome back to the It's Just Sport podcast paper review. I'm Joanna Reardon.
I'm Niamh Talon. There has been loads of news this week, and while we will get to the ruckus that is going on in the world of Camogie, we are going to bring you the good news first. We have 2 new Olympic qualifications from diving athletics, so it has been a brilliant week of sport, and we are excited to bring you the news.
Yeah, it's incredibly overwhelming. In the early hours of Tuesday morning, Tanya Watson qualified for the Olympic Games, becoming the first ever Irish female diver to qualify for the Olympics. She finished 16th in the preliminary round for the 10-metre platform in the FINA Diving World Cup, and she now advances to the semi-final. Kira McGing was also competing in the same event, finishing 23rd. She will have to wait for 2 more weeks while FINA determine if that finish will qualify her for the Games. Claire Crine was also competing. She was in the 3-metre springboard on Monday, achieving her 4th highest score ever with 242.9 points. She unfortunately finished in 31st position and did not advance to the semi-final. She was incredibly disappointed in not qualifying for the Tokyo Olympics, but she will now turn her focus to the European Championships beginning on the 10th of May. I know we're all incredibly disappointed for Claire, especially Niamh, but it's good news all around, but sad for Claire.
Yeah, it's very exciting to see that Tanya has qualified, but I know that Claire is incredibly disappointed, and I think it was just one dive kind of threw it a little bit. But we're looking forward to seeing her in action again at the European Championships, which will be starting on Monday. And I'm sure she'll have a great competition. But she's a fantastic diver, fantastic athlete, so it was just disappointing for her that she didn't achieve what she wanted to achieve. In athletics, there was lots and lots of excitement at the World Relays. I think loads of people tuned in. It was great to see it. It was great to see that people are tuning into what's going on in other sports and tuning into the successes of our female athletes. First up was the 4x100 with Molly Scott, Sarah Lavin, Sarah Quinn and Kate Doherty. They put in a good race but did not advance to the semi-finals. It's great to get everybody out there get experience on the international stage, so it's very exciting. The big news of Saturday night was the mixed 4x400 relay, which had Chris O'Donnell, Phil Healy, Charlene Maudsley and Tommy Barr in action. O'Donnell started off strong, but it was very tight. The only one that was really making a move at that point was a British runner who'd moved ahead, but everybody else crossed the line and did the handover in quick succession. Phil put in a massive first 100 and put them in the lead. She held that until the final straight, and she was overtaken by a Brazilian. She then did the handover to Charlene. So Charlene, led off in second position. She was overtaken for a brief period of time, but really, really held on. So she was sitting in third just for a little bit, but it was really exciting. Everybody was really, really tight. And as it came into the final straight, she actually managed to move Ireland up into first position. So it was just so exciting. And she really, really dug in. You could see she was giving it 100%. She passed this over then to Thomas Barr. He ran the last leg. And he was in first position for a good while, but then was just slightly outdone by the Brazilian and the Dominican Republic. He was put in a great position by his team, and we certainly will be looking forward to the excitement of this team as we look forward to the Olympic Games now that the team is qualified. I know Phil was saying it's delighted to, we're expecting that she's going to go forward and based on rankings and everything anyway, but she's delighted that the team is qualified and that there's a secure Olympic qualification there. What I thought was really interesting was Phil actually ran 51.87 and Charlene ran 51.86. So Charlene was actually just a teeny bit quicker than Phil. And I thought the women stood out on the team. They did really, really well. They were just exceptional. Definitely in comparison to the other female athletes, they were 100% up there. For the final, Tom Barr actually went home and Andrew Mellon was swapped in. Their job was done. They had that Olympic qualification and they finished in 7th place overall in the final on Sunday. And I think that'll be down to getting more people races, getting the experience. They had their job done. They got that qualifying spot. Then on the Sunday, the 4x200 was also very exciting. It saw Ireland pick up second place with absolute delight. The team ran a new national record of 135.93. It is a young team with loads and loads of potential. They started off really, really strong. It was a good leg from Aoife Lynch. She took them out in the lead. The lead out leg. Then Kate Doherty took the baton from her, and around the next 200, she really moved them up and got them into second position. It was retained by the following athletes, who were Sarah Quinn, who actually ran the fastest leg of the quartet, and Sophie Becker, who was beginning to gain on the poles. And the two of them put in some good work and began to gain on the poles, but it just wasn't enough to get first. But brilliant second position race, and they have picked up some prize money along the way. I think the clean changeovers in both teams really had them stand out. It was very exciting watching everything, like all the other events. There's some relay races that we won't get to see elsewhere. So there's a shuttle relay in hurdles, and these distances like the 4x200 wouldn't crop up often, but was definitely exciting. There are people dropping things, there are people stepping out of lanes, all that kind of thing. So there's plenty of disqualifications, but very, very exciting. In other news, Rashida Adeleke was in action. She was in the States running the 200 meters, and she ran 23 flat. This was 0.1 off Phil Healy's Irish record. However, it was wind assisted at 2.7. We know she's in absolutely flying form. There's loads more to come from her, so we look forward to seeing what she's doing over the next couple of months, because she's just knocking on the doors of some more of those records.
Yeah, no, I think every single argument should be settled with shuttle hurdle relays or relays in any shape or form, because they are some of the craziest athletics events you can possibly, even in swimming. I had noticed when I was there, the relays were are the most, that will be the most fun. I was
Exciting, yeah.
looking forward to that, and they were like, there's no relays to it. And I was like, oh. But yeah, I suppose looking across to Katie Taylor, she remains the undisputed lightweight champion of the world. I really wanted to go full boxer announcer there, but I thought, don't embarrass yourself. She is now, her record stands at 18 professional wins and 0 losses, which is absolutely unbelievable for her. She beat Liverpool's Natasha Jonas in a cracking fight. People were already tipping it to be a contender for Fight of the Year. It was absolutely unbelievable. I watched some of it on the highlights. It was incredible. It was so close. Taylor obviously started off better, but Jonas managed to actually work her way back into the fight in the kind of middle rounds. I think from watching boxing, and my boxing knowledge is a bit limited, but from what I could read online, Jonas is kind of a bit more technical. She's a bit more out there. She's a bit more, I suppose, capable, I think, in the boxing world, which is, it's not wrong to say, but I think she's been focused on this for quite some time. Taylor really showed, obviously, why she is, a champion. She showed real guts. She showed incredible courage to dig deep and pull through in some of those final rounds when the going really got tough and it was incredibly tight and nail biting. I suppose credit to the two of them, both Natasha and Katie Taylor, for making it one of the fights of the year. For sure, it was a great spectacle. Loads of people got involved, and I think afterwards Katie Taylor said something, that she dug deep in the end and won the championship rounds. We said all week that it could have been a headline act, and the fight showed why. I think a lot of people were a little bit curious as to why it wasn't the headline fight, because it was such a high profile thing, and then a couple of other people who who are familiar with boxing and who aren't as familiar with boxing were a little bit unsure as to why it was on box office, considering women's boxing is kind of growing, and you mightn't really necessarily want to be putting those fights behind the scene. Especially last year for Kate Taylor's, one of her other fights, it was on, I think it was on Sky Sports Mix or something like that, so even the free channel, and it had record viewing numbers for a women's boxing event. I don't know if you saw some of the top dogs and boxing magazines were even writing about how great Kate Taylor was, so it's great to see her absolutely flying. My brother still thinks she doesn't get the recognition that she deserves.
Yeah, she I think, to be honest, I think part of it is she has such a massive following and people have such admiration and respect for her. But part of her kind of personality is she doesn't necessarily love the limelight. Obviously, she does a bit of it more now with the fact that she's professional and she has to get out and talk to media a bit more maybe than she necessarily enjoys. But yeah, if obviously she is marketed, but if she put more time into that, yeah, she definitely have more of a following. But I think the nature of her is she likes to be a little bit behind the scenes, and the talent speaks to it for itself, and I think people also like a bit of mystery as well.
I think it's part of the appeal, yeah, her quietness and her soundness. I met her at the People of the Year Awards. She won Athlete of the Year for obviously bringing home gold in the Olympics, and I was Young Person of the Year. It was incredible to see.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. She's just such a good athlete, and I think yeah, look, if she